Good. Pen and paper, get them ready, because I'm going to go fast, go hard on this, because this is going to be exactly what you need to build the business. Are you excited? All right. When Ken had asked me to talk about two subjects to pick that I wanted to be pretty much the most passionate about, as you heard in the first talk I did, I basically really built a vision around the dream and everything like that, and my whole purpose of that was the ant and the elephant, basically creating the vision so that you can go out there and keep that before you, so that when you have to go do the activity, you know why you're doing it. It'll push you and help you to persevere. Does everybody remember that yesterday? And thank you very much for the kind words of everybody that complimented me on it. I do sincerely appreciate it. Now, the part that I want to talk to you now about is how to properly use the ant, but not hinder your business by messing around with the elephant too much. Okay? And I'm going to bring this into perspective for you. I want you to write this down. People will only join you if they believe they can do what you just did to try to get them in the business. This is a real important point. I think a lot of people don't understand this. People are only going to join you if they believe they can do what you just did to show them the business or get them involved in the business. Herein lies the dilemma. On a first, and did you get all that written down? Okay, now focus up here. Once you're done, you'll remember it, and if you forget it, you can ask me afterwards, but I got to keep you on task here. Let me use some more word pictures for you. Our objective is to dig a ditch 10 feet deep and 100 feet long. 10 feet deep and 100 feet long. And I have before you one idea to do this is nothing. You can use your hands. 2, you could use a spoon to dig the same ditch 10 feet deep, 100 feet long. You could use a backhoe, or you could use a backhoe, but you're allowed to hire 5 other people to use any one of those tools. Which do you think would you choose? This isn't hard. There's no real hidden message here, people. Where's the psychology of this, Michael? You're getting it, right? Obviously the backhoe with that, because what is a backhoe? It is a tool that does the heavy lifting for you. Now, when others come up and speak, what are they predominantly feeding right there? The ant, right? It's good education. How many of you guys could go out and clearly explain Norm just explained to you guys? Heck no, he lost me after a couple things, right? And I'm like, wow, but I get these little points and I see it, but I couldn't repeat it. But if I had a tool that allowed me to leverage the education of somebody, guess what I could do with the tool? I could hand it to somebody, and somebody could do this. Now, here's the thing, and I'm going to go back and forth on a lot of this. We've consistently and constantly talk about engaging people into the proper flow of the swimming pool, getting people on the same page. And let me start with our PowerPoint right here, the presentation you saw last night. The presentation here's what you have to be very careful about when you're showing this plan, is you have to always remember the first thing I had you write down is the reason that I would take this PowerPoint and a lot of times not necessarily have it on the laptop all the time, or I would have it printed out where the script is on this side, is not that I couldn't give just this amazing presentation, because I've done thousands and thousands of them, right? But the number one thing that I have to remember when I'm talking to somebody, give me your name again. When I'm talking to Angela, the number one thing I'm thinking of is, can Angela do what I'm doing or showing her right now? Because that is ultimately the thing that's going to be in her head to think that she is going to have to do. This is real important. A lot of times people will come to a hotel meeting that we do, a presentation. They're brand new, and a week later, I've actually had this happen. I had a week later, a guy had joined the business. He'd come to hotel presentation. It was his first introduction to the business. This is the only way he saw it. And he showed up, and he basically went out and rented a hotel room. Well, we laugh at that, right? But how were they presented? They grabbed the vision, they saw the vision, but what they didn't understand was the simplicity of duplication, because their original presentation was strictly how they thought the business was done. And I'm going to give you some fun stories to show you how that replicates. When I had joined networking over 17 years ago, the first way I saw a presentation done was on a flip chart, because computers didn't exist. PowerPoints didn't exist, basically, the whole 9 yards. It was a big flip chart, this same size. The first one was a hotel meeting. This was how the presentation was done. When I went to my first 4 presentations, take a wild guess what I took for one-on-one presentations. I walked up with this giant 3.5-foot flip chart into somebody's house. I sat him in front of me and I put him in the chair. I'll never forget this, as long as I live. My very first presentation on my own was to my godfather, who is kind of a combination of a Woody Hayes personality with a Lou Holtz personality. Hardcore, old school football coach. Like back in the day when if you drank water, you were a sissy. But now everybody dies. But, back that's him. And I put this, and I'm shaking because they said go after these influential people. Chicken list, right? I'm like, oh, this guy knows everybody. So I get there, I show up with this big giant flip chart, and we're in his little kitchen, and I set him here, and I grab a chair, and I pull it out, and I drop this 3.5-foot flip chart right in front of him, and I start flipping these big pages right in front of him. He's going like this, and he's looking there, and he's crossing his arms. He goes, "Are you out of your mind?" I'm like, well, people are making money doing this. And he's like, do you really think I'm going to? And I'm like, oh, I was so discouraged. And I left. I just quit the presentation like halfway in it. He was hardcore. He didn't care. So there was no sympathy with her whatsoever. I'm surprised he didn't make me do sprints outside or something. Just for showing up. Next presentation, take a guess what I did. 3, no, I didn't make it smaller. That would be the ideal thing to do, correct? So I went to the next presentation. I took the big 3-foot flip chart. This was to the guy. It gets even better. I was so scared from the last one that I took a friend of mine and basically begged them to give a presentation to something that they weren't even in yet. I just was terrified to give this presentation. The guy I was giving the presentation to was my former boss, Army Ranger ex-Vietnam vet. That at one point told me he had done some things that would probably get most human beings arrested, right? And I take this flip chart, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, Ray, you tell him the presentation. Because I don't want to talk to him. This guy's mean. I'm like, come on. And he goes, well, show me, Healy. Let's go. This is my presentation. And I got this big giant flip chart, and I'm flipping through the pages. Take a wild guess what he says. Are you out of your mind? And he added a whole bunch of real colorful words to me. And I walked out of there like this, and I looked at Ray, and I started laughing. I'm like, I guarantee you the rest of my life there will never be a presentation that brutal as long as I live. And as long as I don't quit, I'm gonna make a lot of money. Ironically, I called somebody up because I was getting discouraged that no one was getting involved in my great idea of showing 3.5-foot presentations directly in front of them. And somebody said, hey, there's a tool for that. And they said, you can use this little flip chart that's actually in the kit, and all you have to do is read the script. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's how they figured out how to give this presentation. There's a script. He goes, didn't you see it? I go, no, I don't read that stuff. And I went in the starter kit was a presentation of the presentation that was on the board, that it had the script right on it. And I walked over to this guy's house. I go over, my wife said, hey, my brother-in-law, he owns a landscaping business. He's actually very interested, in business things and so on. Let's go sit and talk with him. And I said, that's cool. Let's do that. So we go over to his house, and I'm a little nervous, obviously. And I was kind of, after doing a few of these big presentations like that and not having any success, I didn't have any preconceived notions he was even going to get in. And he's got one of his employees about the same age as us there, sitting there, and he's there. And I said, listen, Ray, I've been trying to give this presentation for a while. I am terrible at it. can I practice this thing on you? Stacy said you'd at least listen. I saw some guys make some money. I'm trying. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. He's like, yeah. And they were eating dinner, and I took the flip chart, and guess what I did? I basically read the script like that. I had no enthusiasm and so on. I said something, and the guy sitting next to him, they were wolfing down food, and I'm just thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I'm going to starve to death if I could take this up as a profession. And the guy next to him looks up and goes, you know what? I heard about those things before. I got a buddy down in Kentucky. He's making a ton of money doing that. Hey, Ray, if you get in, I'll join with you. I go, really? I go, you're kidding me. He's like, no. And Ray goes, okay, I'm in. Really? And he's like, absolutely. And it taught me, at that point, it taught me one of the most significant lessons, if you'll listen to it, is when I tried to be the most professional, I had the least amount of success. When I learned to be myself, because people do business with people they know, say it real loud, like, and let's say that middle one again, like, and fun, and you can do what that person did. That's when my business completely changed around, when I learned to edify the tools. Write that down, okay, because I want to cover this part. Now, as the business began to advance and technology, because back in the day it was cassette tapes, and we didn't even use that when I was in a company, I started to figure out the power of leveraging myself using CDs. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay? Now here's the difference, and I want to, this is something important that I have to cover with you, is when I hand somebody a CD, I don't explain what's on the CD before I hand it to them. But if I learned to properly edify a tool using the elephant technique about that. So if I'm having a conversation with Angela, first and foremost, I have to find out what her interests are, correct? What ailments she's dealing with, whether it's financial or physical. I then ask myself at any time, think about this. I'm always write this down. Is there a tool that I can share with that person that answers that question or that problem? And take this the correct way. Learn to stay stupid. Okay, and let me explain this. I think you're getting it, and Mike will prove it out to you for sure. Is when I learned to stay as dumb as possible, I made the most money in networking. When I learned to feed the elephant, and I want you to write this is one of the most powerful phrases you can use. I tell you, this has made me more money than you can even know what to do with. Are you ready for this? Are you really ready? Write these words down. I don't know. Wow. Did you feel how profound that was? I don't know. Even though I can answer just about any question on science and compensation and downlines and how you get promoted, I use the phrase, I don't know, so often it is scary. And I'm comfortable with it. There's a lot of people that will come up in the hallways and ask me questions about, well, my friend came up with this idea. I go, well, I don't know. Even though I have an idea. Do you know how much brain power that uses to try to figure that out? What part are they feeding? Always be asking yourself, am I ant or elephant on this point? If I start to find myself to lean into the tendency of becoming ant, I say, I don't know, but there's a tool for that. Do you see what I'm saying? If we, not you guys, us, if we learn to become proficient at edifying tools, and all of us are using this same tools, that's why these tools are created, because the reason we have so many different tools is because when Steve asks me about, what am I going to say? I don't know, that sounds pretty cool. But you know what? I have a brochure for that. You should read that. That's pretty cool. When somebody asks me about, because that's their field, that's what trips their trigger, that's their elephant. They get so excited about this. I don't know. There's a phenomenal CD by this. You should see this. And you know what I do? The only thing I do is I edify the person who put the CD or the tool together as the expert in that area that they addressed. Do you see how easy this is? Do you see how Mike gets the stuff done? Because here's the thing is, if I have to learn too much, I don't get to prospect. You have to always remember to keep the main thing the main thing. Websites. Okay, let's talk about websites for a second. I'm going to tell you this, and follow me with this process, because this has been consistently, this has worked for me. And if you get it, you're going to really, I think, enjoy it. Is I have a 5-step process that I've always used. Prospect, contact, present, follow up, and repeat. Prospect, contact, present, follow up, and repeat. A lot of times what I've done is I always just try to create relationships. And when I'm making, and that's the number one thing, is the reason like I told you, is one of the reasons people join me, and most of the time is the fact that they've enjoyed the relationship. They enjoyed just the story, the talking about the fun things in life, not the details, the fun things. Prospecting is just basically getting leads, and that's a completely different CD. Contacting people, I literally typically when I'm recruiting, when I'm in full-time recruiting mode, I make phone calls to people, and I would say I'd call Mike, and I'd say, hey, Mike, it's Mike Healy, how you doing? He's like, great. I say, listen, I know you're busy, and you don't have time, and I know you're busy, but do you mind if I send you an email? How many people think you could do that without hurting yourself? Do you mind if I send you an email? And he's like, no, that's fine. I said, listen, I want to just send you an email. Do I have your correct email address? What's he going to typically ask me? What's this about? You ready for this one? This is my ultimate comeback. I can't really explain it to you over the phone because it'd be like giving you a haircut over the phone. And what's everybody do? They always chuckle. They had a brief encounter with me, and they had a fun experience. I got them to laugh on one initial phone call. And he said, oh, okay. I said, yeah, I don't want to confuse it. Guess what he's also thinking? Because if I can get him in the business, he can think that he just did what I just did, correct? I then send him to a website. I've had people say, they send me these emails. I say, what do you think about me sending this email out to people? And it's like 70 paragraphs. It's like this, and if it's more than two lines, I'm like done. I go, and I think I drive people nuts because I'll reply back, a little bit too long. And that's it. That's all I reply. Here's what my email says to Mike. You ready? Mike, thank you very much for let me send you this. Really appreciate it. Click on this link and watch this short video. And basically when I send it to him, the website is not to sign up the rep. I need you guys to remember this and think about this. These tools, a lot of times, people are going to join you because they know you, like you, and trust you. Number one, it's all about personal development, okay? The tool helps me to leverage my foot in the door for the number one thing that I need to be able to do, and it's just start a relationship with him. Now, here's the thing. How hard was that for me to send that email real quick? Didn't take too long. I sent it to him. He's got it. 24 to 48 hours later, I call him back up. Guess what? How fast? And when I say, hey, Mike, can I send you an email? He says, yes. I say, great. Thank you very much. Well, I'll let you go. I know I probably caught you in the middle of something. Have a good one. I'm off the phone in less than 20 seconds. One, curiosity kills the cat, so I got him thinking, what the heck is Mike talking about? I did it with enthusiasm, but the most important reason I kept it short is when my caller ID phone number comes back up on his thing, I want him picking it up because he goes, oh, last time Mike called, it was less than 5 seconds, right? He's going to answer the phone. You ever had people that you called and they don't return your calls for some reason? You know why? It's because when you called them, you didn't ask permission if it was a good time for them or not. You just started puking on them. You started throwing out information. They said what time it was, and you started telling them how to build a watch. So when Mike sees my ring, hello. Hey, Mike, it's Healy again. How are you, buddy? Good. Write this down. This is going to be something you remember. Hey, Mike, is this a good time? Perfect. Did you hear what I just said? I asked him if it was a good time, because the last thing I want to do is start talking to him about my business opportunity or whatever when he's getting ready to put the kids in the car to go to football practice. Or he just got home from work and traffic was terrible and it's the wrong time. I got it. The timing is everything. You heard of it? Okay. Mike, so Mike, is this a good time?
Yeah, great time, Mike.
Excellent. Hey, listen, did you get the email I sent?
Yeah, I got that. Tell me more about it.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Okay, slow down, because you're very good. You're following. Did you get the email? Yes. And say, hey, by the way, did you check out the website? Yes. Okay. Now here's the thing. If I don't get any response, if he's asking me that, I'm like, oh yeah, drooling at the mouth, right? Hot prospect. Sign him up. Okay. Where's the app? No, I'm kidding. But what I would do with him is if somebody answers, like say, yeah, I did. Did you have a chance to watch the video? And all he says is, oh yeah, I did. This is a key phrase that I ask. What did you like best? What did you like best about what you saw? Perfect. He's a visual learner. He just told me that. Really? Okay, great. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter what he liked best, but going back to the elephant, remember? His question just answered the elephant I was looking at or looking to find. When I say, what did you like best? And he said, man, I have been dying to figure out a way. I have been dying to figure out a way to do that. Guess what I'm not talking about? Compression and dynamically achievable compensation plans. Is that his elephant? No, that's his ant, right? I'm over here talking and feeding that. And he's like, man, I saw that video on those people. You know, who else do you know is doing that? Guess what? I got a tool for it. I got he's in the local market. I say, you know what? I need to come over to your house so I can sit down and show you this stuff. Or I got some of these. You can go right online and buy that stuff. If I talk to Kevin answers the phone and says, well, Mike, tell me a little bit about that. Guess what I'm talking about? Okay, I got that. So prospect contact, present, follow up. What's the last one? Repeat. Write this down. Learn to say less to more people. Learn to say less to more people. I watch more people waste days on prospects or people or suspects, really, on stuff that is just useless, trying to answer all of these different things. And I'm like, that's a great question. Let me see if I can find it. I'm gone. I try to go through people as fast as I possibly can. Okay. When you go fishing, most of the time you catch the most fish by putting either more poles in the water or throwing out there more bait, right? You got to get that out there. Now, here's the thing is if we all start learning, and let me kind of wrap this up because I went through a bunch here, is if you start to learn to edify the tools and edify everything else, the other thing it does for you is it takes the pressure off of you personally at that moment for the credibility issue. Kenneth talked about this, of why we have to create credibility in leadership, okay? Because a lot of people, when they see Ken and I, they sign people up. Of course it's going to get easier for us to sign people up because we're professionals at this. We've been doing this forever. But when Mike's coming out of the bar business and doesn't have a lick of sense, and he's walking up to people that he works with at the bar that just saw him pound a dude nearly to death and then basically throw up on himself. I'm being honest here. Can I be bluntly honest? How am I going to be their financial deliverer? Is that going to look like right? No. But if I say, look, all I know is this guy, it was you, Steve. No, Steve and I used to be roommates, so he can tell you. Okay. But if it was this guy, because a lot of times, again, people are going to look at you and go, what do you know about business? What do you know about making money? You're broke. You're driving that car, da-da-da-da. But if you learn to edify and use the tools, that you point to the team, you point everywhere but yourself until you can show somebody, you know what, all I did was point people to the tools. All I did was hand out these CDs. You play dumb all day long, and all of a sudden you're driving a new Mercedes, and they walk up to you and go, where'd you get that Mercedes? Dude, I don't even know. All I did was started handing out CDs to people. You got a Mercedes for doing that? dude, I don't know, it's this guy, he's nuts on here, and this other dude's crazier than him. You ever seen the leather inside of one of these Mercedes and it's free? You're kidding me. Yeah. How's it work? I don't know. I just went to this website and then I showed somebody this CD. What are people thinking? Thank you. What are they thinking? And if you get people to understand that, you take all the pressure of education off of them. You can keep the elephant in front of everybody. You can get people, there's attention by what they're trying to do because you get them where they're at. And the number one thing is if you build the relationship with people, you learn to do that from a presentation standpoint. But once you go from the presentation standpoint to the team model and your organization starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger, it's impossible for you to field all the phone calls. It literally is impossible. And at that point is where you're going to see your business tip, because now you're going to learn to be able to edify the system properly, because you will always have a tool that you remember that you can point the new person to be directed at. You build the relationship with the person so that now when they get on system, when somebody says, well, how did you learn how to get people sponsored? Instead of having to take the time and really figure out how to get them sponsored, you said, well, you know what? I handed them a CD on how to get a person sponsored. I handed them, how did you figure out how to prospect? I handed them CD on prospecting. And when you take yourself out of the equation, everything else kind of comes together. You teach your team to do that, but at the same time, it allows you to leverage, going back to the original thing I pointed out. If our objective is to dig a ditch, if I said I will pay you $100,000 a year to dig a ditch 10 feet deep and 100 feet long, you can do it as fast or as slow as you want. As long as you get it done, you're getting that cash. Which do you think would make more sense? Like this on the beach, right? Digging with your nails and having blood come out of your nails and being painful? Or do you walk around and going, I'm just using tools, just using tools. Hey, how's that thing work? No idea, but making money. How's that car work? No idea, I just turned it on, drove, and somebody gave it to me. Do you see the power in this? Okay? So if you just prospect, use the tools, allow the tools to do the work for you, the heavy lifting, everything else will be in play. And everybody, when they're watching you do it, will think in their heads, I can do it also. And you'll get more signups, you'll get more people excited, and you'll get more people moving to action than you've ever had before. And we have a system for that. And say, I have a tool for that. I have people for that. Whatever it might be, you can always point to people. That's why you do three-way calls. Did you guys get something out of that?